So thank you for joining us. This is our summer camp roundtable. It was kind of a good time to host this because some new regulations came down from the governor's office. So before we get into that, Dan is going to go ahead and launch a poll that just has some basic questions that usually come up during these roundtables. And then we'll talk about that. So Dan, if you can go ahead and launch that poll and take a minute just to do that. In the meantime, feel free to say hi. In case I didn't say at the beginning, I'm Nikki. I'm the Director of Training with PRPS. And this guy on this side, is Dan Hendy. He is our, what is your title, Dan? Superhero of education?
This wizard is good.
A wizard. Okay, that works perfectly. So I don't know if you launched the poll because I can't see it.
It's up, Nikki.
It's up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll just go ahead and give that a minute. There's a couple questions. And then Dan, I'm probably going to have you go over results because I don't have them on my screen.
Yeah.
But we'll give it just a few more minutes. And again, for those of you not using your cameras, we always appreciate it when you do, just so we can see who's on the call, so we can have a more interactive discussion. So feel free to turn those cameras on. We love to see your beautiful faces first thing on a Monday morning. All right, and while we're still working on that, Dan, if we'll just keep it up for another 30 seconds or so, if there's any specific topics or questions that you want us to discuss today, please go ahead and put them in the chat box. Again, you're the ones with questions. We're here to basically kind of work through a discussion with the whole team that's on the roundtable.
We got 14 of 18 have completed the poll.
All right, if you
I'm going to give it another 15. Sorry, Nikki, I'm going to give it another 15 seconds and then I'm going to shut it down and read out the results.
Awesome. And maybe we can go question by question and have discussion on if there's any questions or concerns with a specific question.
All right, I'm going to end it since I didn't do anything. And I am going to just share the results with everyone. So Nikki, can you see the results or should I read them to you?
I cannot see them. So again, can we go one question at a time with the results and talk about any of the issues people might have concerns with?
Sure. The first question, camp starting on time, 86% said yes. Only 7% said no. And not sure is 7%.
Awesome. So for those that are not starting on time, what were the concerns behind that? Why are you not starting? Are you just delaying it for mitigation efforts to kind of adjust? Feel free to unmute yourself and let us know. Just a reminder that this is not successful if you guys don't provide feedback. But if there's nothing on that question, Dan will go ahead and move on to the second one.
Second question is, has your plan changed with the update from the governor that mitigation efforts aside from masking end on May 31st? 79% said no, and 3 people or 21% were unsure, Nikki.
Oh, is it primarily because that announcement came late and you were already planned for the summer? Karen,
Yeah, we're just keeping things in place right now. I mean, every week we're evaluating it. So as it gets closer to the actual camp start date, ours doesn't start till the 21st of June.
Okay.
So we're thinking that it could, end up changing even between May 31st and June 20th. So.
Yeah, and you do week by week camps?
We do some, but our big playground, our big summer camp program is 6 weeks. So.
Oh, awesome. Anyone else?
I'm being dictated more by our commissioners, so until they give me a all clear, we're going to kind of go with what's the old recommendations at this point in time.
And when do you start, Doug?
The 21st as well.
Okay, great.
So
Anyone else have feedback on that topic?
I was just gonna say ours starts the 14th and we're keeping ours the same because it was already planned. And our problem is just getting enough staff to have the limits that we have right now. So until we have more staff, we're not opening it up to more children.
All right. Is anyone else having staffing issues this year?
We just barely had enough staff. I mean, we're set for the summer. We didn't have like an overwhelming amount like that we had in the past and things. So I think a lot of the townships around us in the Montgomery County area, from what I gathered when I talked to some people, they were having some issues too. So.
Same thing up here. We barely really didn't have an opportunity to look at the quality of the counselors. It is basically, they meet the qualifications and interview well. They have a job and that's about it. And that is what I hear from surrounding communities as well up here. So it seems to be a theme.
Yeah, I've heard that from quite a few people as well. And I'm not sure why. I would think at this time people would get back to normal, but that's definitely something I've heard as well.
I can honestly say here in Muhlenberg, it's the salary that we offer. I mean, they can go to Target and Bojangles and make more, you know, than I've upped it to $10 to $12 an hour. I mean, we were down at $8.50. So, but yeah, we're still not near what they can make and getting much more hours actually on a weekly basis. So
Right.
that's a struggle here.
Right.
We started out really strong with staffing, and then in the past month or so, I've had probably 10 to 12 staff quit. I completely overstaffed for this summer just because, you know, with having to break kids down into groups, and if anybody would get sick or quarantine, that way I knew I had extra staff. So I started out really, really strong. And then all of a sudden, all these kids started quitting. A couple gave excuses, others didn't. The only thing I can really think of is, you know, that there are other jobs. I mean, my counselors start out at $10 an hour. So, you know, there are some that are, you know, other Target, like you said, is starting out more. But then I don't know if families just want to be able to spend time together this summer and really go away, you know, where they couldn't, you know, obviously everybody's been spending time together because you couldn't do anything, but, you know, have the option of being able to go away and not worry about schedules for the summer. That's the only thing I can think of.
Oh, that's a great point. You know, people are going to be able to go on vacations and they're going to want to do that. Now, I know when I ran a summer camp, we asked for the 8-week commitment from our staff. Do you also do that? And that could then lead to why people don't want to commit to that kind of a job.
Yeah, we asked for that as well. You know, I am pretty lenient whenever they ask for time off. But, you know, this summer I was making crazy exceptions with some of the staff of asking to go away or, you know, baseball or softball tournaments, stuff like that, you know, so I really don't know. I wish I had an answer.
That's really hard. I mean, we've had almost every counselor has asked for 1 week for family vacation, which is unusual. It has not been that common with all the employees. So I'm actually trying to hire some rovers to just go back and forth and fill spots. So we have adequate coverage at all the sites, but that has been a request, not camps, not travel tournament camps or sports camps, but either college visits or family vacations.
Yeah. Great. Any more thoughts on staff? Are your ratios about the same for this year as they were last year?
We raised ours $2 from 8 to 10 and had a flurry of early applications, and then it really leveled off, and not as many college kids at all. I have mostly just graduated high school seniors, the college students are, I guess they have the jobs at the other places that pay more. So.
All right.
Is anyone using like junior counselors or counselors in training? I have a lot of those applying because I think parents want them to have something to do this summer. At first we were on the fence just because of COVID protocols and all of that, but is anybody else considering using them to kind of supplement your regular staff?
We do at Limerick. I have probably close to 30 this summer. They just come out of the woodwork.
Same.
And I actually I started interviewing them the past few years, and not accepting some of them just because a lot of parents use it as a babysitting service when, you know, they're supposed to actually be there working and learning the roles. But this year I have a ton. And we start our paid counselors at 15, and they're coming out of the woodwork too. It's the older staff that we're really struggling to get to. So, but yeah, we are using ours again this year.
We're having a hard time finding, because now we have multiple sites this year to spread people out and getting people to run the sites. Like I have counselors and junior counselors. It's the, you know, the people that I need to like be in charge that we're having a hard time with.
Yeah, I cannot find a supervisor for one site yet, so I may have to consolidate and,
I'll tell you, we kind of, we try and advertise within town. We finally ended up putting an ad on Indeed, and I've gotten like 4 or 5 applications from that. So just as a suggestion, we try not to have to do that, but it was kind of like we needed to. So just as a suggestion, I mean, we have interviews set up with those folks this week, so I haven't talked to anybody yet, but that seemed to at least bring in some interest.
Great idea. All right, before we move on to some other poll questions, Becky Richards just mentioned that they have a small program planned with the local school district for a limited number of kids. They may change the plans according to the new guidance from the governor and from their supervisors. She just started the position. She's putting programs together. And one of the questions she had is anyone requiring and or highly recommending that your staff be vaccinated?
Hi, Matt. Hey, good. How are you?
Yeah, we're not. It's gonna be hard, I think. I mean, they're just
Wonderful.
releasing those right now for 17 and up, and I know they're working on the younger kids, but we're not making that a requirement right now.
Anyone else?
No, we're the same with Doug. We're not gonna require it.
I'm waiting to talk to our board at the end of May to see what their thoughts are on mandating vaccines for our staff. At this point, we're asking them just to be, if they're interested, that they should think about their own.
This came up in the aquatics roundtable, Nikki, and requiring vaccinations probably a sticky wicket, legally speaking. Using incentives such as, you know, an extra $25 or a day off or something like that is probably a much better alternative.
And Karen from Gears said they're not requiring the vaccine, but they are recommending it. So I think that's a good way to word it. Wait, that word is tough for me today. Recommending it versus requiring it, because I thought I read somewhere that you can't actually require it if it's not FDA approved. I'm not sure if that's 100% correct, but I thought that's what I heard. So
You're close if you're not correct.
okay. Dan gives me an inch, but never a mile. Dan, can we move on to that next poll question?
Sure. Number 3 was, are you still limiting the number of campers attending your camp? 9 of you, or 64%, said yes, 2 said no, and 3 are unsure.
We kind of hit on that topic already, but if there's any more questions or feedback on that, go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself. I think there's one more poll question,
Oh, there's two.
but
Masks, are you requiring masks be worn? 9 said yes, inside and outside. 4 said yes, inside only. No one said no, and 1 is unsure.
great. I don't know if much discussion needs to be held on that, but there was talk from the governor that if we reach 70% vaccination rate, that mask will not be required. However, whether it was within the past couple of days, I read it this morning that President Biden and Dr. Fauci are considering saying no masking indoors. So if that changes, is that something you would handle pretty quickly and have them automatically take them off? Or as a precaution, would you still try to have them masked?
So I guess I just want maybe a little clarification. So if they're saying no masks indoors, is it with a 6 feet social distance or no social distance, no mask?
That I'm not clear on. I saw the headlines this morning. I didn't get to read the full article. So I don't know. Dan, you happen to see that?
I did not.
I might be able to pull it up quickly.
I think that's my masking thing, is that there's no way I'll be able to keep them 6 feet socially distanced the whole entire time. So that we were just going to play it safe and keep masks in outdoors as well. But that's why I'm confused, because everything's different almost every day again. So
I'm pulling it up right now. So if you hear the video start, I'm going to try to stop it before it does. Sorry. Okay, let's see.
Oh, well.
I am not seeing it. It does not clarify that whether there's still 6 feet social distancing. So, but we can do some more research on that and try to find out. And I think it looks, glancing at the article quickly, I think it would be by July 4th. They said if 70% is vaccinated, then that's when that would come into play. Dan, was that the last question?
No, there was one more, Nikki. Are you using outside contractors for summer programs? 7 or 50% said yes, and the other 50% said no or unsure.
What vendors are you using for those programs?
We here in Muhlenberg are not doing any field trips, so we're bringing all of our speakers in. We have a variety, the police are coming, the fire department's coming, we have a karate guy coming, we have somebody coming to do yoga, we have somebody coming to do Zumba, we have somebody coming to do a dance, I have a balloon artist coming. So, we've really reached out. We have a local teacher that recently retired that's into animals, so he's bringing his little pets once a week. We have a girl that's doing an elaborate craft once a week as well. So that's what we're doing.
Those are great.
Thank you. I hired a girl from the library, so
we're doing the same thing, Karen. No field trips, so we're bringing everyone in. We have like 2 people coming 2 days a week. So
we're in Lower Marion. We subcontract a lot of our summer programs. So we work with Engineering for Kids, Bricks for Kids, a Theater Horizon program, Soccer Shots, US Soccer. So we subcontract most of our summer camps.
All right, is anyone doing field trips? I know the majority are not. Anyone? Becky, you're looking at field trips, but outdoor adventures, great. Oh, okay. So if you increase your numbers, maybe not. So Becky said, sorry, I'm kind of mumbling. They are looking into field trips for outdoor venues. However, if they change the amount of kids that they can take, that may change. And they're still looking again at how their program will be exactly. So those were just a couple of the poll questions we had. So I guess now just let's open it and see what questions do you have, what concerns do you have, what's going on in your world. Nothing. All right, we don't have to talk about just summer camp. If you have any general recreation program questions that you want to bring to the group, those can happen as well. We know that most people who do summer camps also do recreation programs. So any other questions for the group? We don't want to waste your time, but we want to make sure that if you do have questions, we can acknowledge them and try to get some answers for you.
What's everyone doing in regards to sanitizing shared equipment? Not so much the structures, but the shared equipment. That's kind. We didn't run anything here last year at all. Our commissioners were extremely conservative, and I've only started here on the 19th of April, so we're really far behind the 8 ball in terms of getting everything up and running by June 21st.
We're doing with our camp more this year is more stations where we're breaking the kids up. We have 60 at a site, so we're going to do 6 groups of 10 with a counselor, and then the way the day is going to be planned is they're going to do like stations within that group. So like the one group will be playing like the knock hockey, and then one group will have kickball or so on and so forth. And then after that station is done, they'll get sanitized and just move on to the next station and things. So we're kind of working it that way. That's completely different than what we've ever done.
So are you guys purchasing sanitizing stuff, or are you making your own bleach?
No, we have it from the township. The maintenance guys are have ordered all that stuff for us. So whatever the township is using per se that they use for all their cleaning supplies and stuff, Doug, they're giving it to us for summer camp to use and things.
Okay.
Karen from Gear said that they have bins for used equipment that needs to be cleaned before it's used again. And they do have a sprayer for larger equipment. So that's fantastic. I know last year some people had specific kits that they would allow each kid to use and or take with them throughout the day. Is anyone still doing that?
We here in Muhlenberg are planning on kids having a specific materials for crafts, you know, scissors, glue, that kind of thing, all with their name on it, and that's theirs for the week kind of thing. And then they'll be sanitized and used for a next week for somebody else. So we are also moving in pods, which we've never done before. We're totally revamping our whole program this year with the opportunity to make change and major changes here in Muhlenberg. So it'll be quite a difference in limiting numbers and things like that. So see how it goes, but fingers crossed. Out of bad can come good. So.
And I think you answered one of the questions in the chat box. Becky just said, is anyone keeping camps into smaller groups throughout the day or no restrictions? So the pod process is keeping them in a smaller group throughout the day. So yeah, definitely. I know a handful of people are doing that. If anyone else wants to speak up on that, that would be great. Oh, I just had a question that I was going to ask and I totally forgot about it. Oh, meals. For those that have served meals in the past, how are you managing that? Are you not doing that at all? How is that working this summer?
No, we're not doing any food. We used to do pizza and Chick-fil-A. once a week and things, and then we'd have to give them snack in the afternoon and water or juice boxes. We've taken all the food out of the equation this summer. It's just what our commissioners, our supervisors had told us. So we're not doing any types of food, and that's going to kill our teen program because our teens just love to eat and do lots of craft with food and stuff like that. So we're trying to not do that this summer. So
We'll be giving free lunch program out at the end of each of our days because we only go 9 to noon, but they're prepackaged by the tech school here. So all we have to do is hand it to them as they're getting ready to leave that day. We're not going to have them eat and everything there. They'll take it home or whatever. And it's also open to the public, so they'll be coming in around that time as well to pick up.
That's great.
So
We will also, because of the poverty rate, the school district has a federal lunch program and they're running it through the summer for the community, and they're also running it for us. So we'll be picking up lunches that'll be prepared every day and bringing them to the kids to eat.
Awesome.
We also in Muhlenberg collaborate with our local school district for, we're actually doing breakfast versus lunch, and it is all prepackaged in a bag. They've been used to it for the last year, so we're just continuing on with that as a location. So.
Fantastic. Any other questions that we haven't addressed? Don't be shy, ask them now. If anyone who doesn't have their video or microphone, feel free to put them in the chat box. We can go ahead and ask the group. Wow, you guys got this under control this year. I feel like you learned last year and now you're like, this is easy, we got this.
I do have one more question. I'm curious what everybody's plans are if there is a, if it's case or an illness, any kind of thing comes up during the camp day. I mean, we have what I think is a pretty solid plan in place, but just maybe hearing other ideas would help me figure out the nuts and bolts of it.
Most of you using the same protocols from last summer for if a case of COVID comes up.
I'm actually still working through that.
Yeah.
We had nothing last year.
We were very lucky too, but I always default and call the Department of Health and run everything by them. So I feel much more comfortable by doing that, and they've always been wonderful. So I'll just keep doing that too.
That's great.
So last year we had a policy if they had any of the symptoms and they missed 3 days of school, sort of like a work policy, they had to have a doctor's excuse to come back to camp. If they went on a week's vacation with their family, they had to have a doctor's excuse to come back, or they had to wait a week to come back to camp. So we'll probably follow a similar policy, but also now you have the rapid testing. So that shouldn't be a problem. And last year we had one near scare with a family. So the children stayed away from camp for 3 days, and then the tests all came back, and then they fortunately were able to come back to camp right away. So we'll probably follow some of the same similar policies as we did last year. And we also do the temperature check and the 5 or 6 question pre-screening each morning. And the kids got so used to the routine. The questions for the children when they were getting out of the car. And we also did a drive-through drop-off, so the parents didn't have to get out of the car every day to limit the extra people contact. And that seemed to work well. I think the parents were actually thankful for that process, because then there was less tearful goodbyes, because the kids all got excited to see their favorite camp counselor greeting them in the morning right at the car side. So we're probably going to continue following that protocol again this year.
That's fantastic. Are most people doing the drive-through drop-off? I know that was pretty popular last year. I think it's a great idea. Good question in the chat box. What is everyone using for signing the kids in and out? Is it with the drop-off, your staff person has a clipboard and they're checking them in and out? What other systems might you be using?
Yes.
Our staff person will have the clipboard and checking them in and out.
All right.
In here.
And is everyone still doing temperature checks this year?
Yes.
Yes.
I can see the head shaking. That's great.
I think we'll stop that when the doctor's office stops the temperature checks. That's a product guideline.
Yeah, that might be a very long time yet, but you know, at least it's simple. Point it at their head, pull the button, and you're good. I know here at the office, I'm not in the office today, but I say, we did purchase stuff like thermometers and stuff for moving forward with our own trainings if we need to do that when we're back in person. So, you know, whether it's or adults, it's something that I see it's been for a while yet. What other questions do you have?
Somebody here for you.
I don't know if that was a question.
You have a question?
Karen, that's I'm sorry, did someone mute me?
Apparently.
Oh, it must have been Dan. Dare you, Dan. The gears will use
As much as I would like to, I don't think it was me.
it's like everyone got muted all of a sudden. Gears is using a pre-participation form this year with a parent signature. It will have COVID-related questions on temperature check. It will speed up the drop-off process instead of asking each question. And they've been using it since the fall of 2020. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. That was weird. I still blame Dan. What else? What other questions? For staff training, are you doing in person, virtual? How are you handling staff training this year?
Well, ours would be in person with masks in our training room.
Same with ours. We're breaking up. We have an elementary age camp and a teen camp. And we usually have a preschool camp, but we're not offering the preschool this year. But we're breaking up. Usually we have everyone together. We're breaking it up into, you know, Camp Perky one day, Trailblazers the next day. So we don't have as many people and we can still social distance in our auditorium and things.
What about first aid and CPR? I assume, and maybe I'm wrong in assuming this, that most of you require first aid and CPR certifications for your staff. Are you doing blended learning or are you doing full in person?
We'll be doing in person.
Same with us. Our police actually do it for us, our police and fire. So, and they take care of like everything. We just have our kids go certain days. So.
And do you cover the cost for that, or is it the certification cost on them?
We usually cover it. For our police and fire to do it, it's just actually for the card for the kids. So they do it while they're like on the clock. So we don't have to worry about paying an instructor or anything like that. So we just pay for the card.
Great.
Karen,
Yeah, we do the same thing. We integrate it into our training.
Karen, I think you were going to say something.
we also pay for it here in Muhlenberg Township, so.
That's good. Here, I'm going to go to a question in the chat box. Katie, no worries about missing it. We did record this, so you can watch it after the fact. But has anyone found any good online resources that has a lot of COVID-friendly activities? like a site that she can send counselors to kind of, you know, get ideas and kind of brainstorm. I'll also say with that, when you're answering, if there's a website that you have in mind, please feel free to share it in the chat box. And also if there are certain activities, please share those and we can add them to the chat box as well.
I don't have a specific website that I go to, but my supervisory staff, I tell them to go to, there's a couple groups on Facebook for summer camps, summer camp professionals and summer day camp professionals, where they post a lot of really good activities, or they'll save like a whole document in the files within that group. And I've found a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Facebook, I think it's gone from just being a social, like with friends, to having so many educational groups that you can really learn a lot from what other people are doing. And then Gina, you shared a great link in the chat box. So Katie, if you didn't see that, we will send it out with the notes, but thank you.
I actually use Pinterest with my supervisors too sometimes, and I actually have like for the different themes for the week and stuff, I'll pin different things and they'll pin stuff for the other sites too. That's like theme specific and age specific. So we have something for our teen camp, our elementary and our preschool, and they use that a lot. A lot of the counselors will work together on that and things.
That's awesome.
There's also another group, I can't seem to find it right now, but there's another group that I use where it's for physical education teachers. And obviously they've, you know, been doing a lot of activities in schools where they need to social distance kids. So I've found a ton of different types of games in there as well. If I can find the group, I'll type it up in the chat.
Awesome. And if you can't find it right away, you can always email it to me and I can include it with the notes. I'll put my email address in the chat box. Oh, that's not right. Any other questions? For those who typically do swimming at a local pool and or swim lessons, if you take your kids to swim lessons, are you doing that this year? Are you still going to the pool? Thanks for sharing that, Angela. Are you swimming? Are you not? What's your process with that?
Yeah, we are
are-
swimming.
Go
We are
ahead.
swimming. We are swimming this year. Last year, we couldn't open the pool because of financial reasons. Our gymnastics center was closed and they helped to augment the losses that we have in the park. So our kids did sprinkler games all summer last year. Old fashioned was like having fun in your own backyard was our theme. And so this year we'll still have our famous sprinkler games, but 2 days a week they will get to go to the pool. Our pool policies will be, first they'll have a test so the lifeguards know who can be in the den. Masks have to be worn into the pool, into the bathhouse, to the concession stand. And masks do not have to be worn when they're swimming. And of course, we are going to still promote the 6 foot or 3 foot, whichever one it is at the end of May, distancing. And we're also going to monitor if things change and pay attention to the families and the parents' perspectives on the safety issues to if we have to modify things throughout the summer. But we are definitely swimming and the pool will be open. And we have some daycare centers actually coming to our pool as well. And have to follow the same policies that we're setting.
Great.
I think in general, last year we were red, yellow, green. So I think we're going to be a little conservative and stay towards the yellow end of our policies, just because everyone was happy with them last year, and modify as we see parents that think they can let us be a little lax on things. Is how we're going to handle it.
Thank you. I remember water days being like the day of the week for my campers. So, I mean, anyone else not going, have you adjusted it? Are your pools limiting the amount of people?
Also, we were told that we were allowed to be at 75% capacity, which for our pool, that would be about 90 people. So I think with the daycares coming in on the different, so we've limited which daycares can come on which days so that members still have a chance. But so we should still be fine unless it's 100 and some degree day. Then we may have to decide if we have to limit people. But according to the new policies, it can be 100% capacity. We just haven't made a decision if we're going to go above the 75% yet.
Great. All right, we go ahead.
I was going to say, we are having swimming lessons this year too. Some of our local surrounding pools did things last year without swimming lessons, I think, but I think most are having swimming lessons. We're just like limiting it to 6 children per class so we can promote that social distancing aspect.
Awesome. All right, we still have a little over 15 minutes left, so I want to make sure if there are questions that we address them. If no one has questions, we don't have to shoot for an hour. Again, I know you're all busy getting ready for summer camp. So with any final questions or just fun stories that you want to share?
I have a question. Did
Absolutely.
anybody incorporate anything in their staff training last year or coming up to this year that you found really helpful, either COVID related or anything that you really think your staff benefited from?
That's a great question.
I think one thing we're going to do for our counselors in our week before camp starts, in conjunction with what we learned last year, is to talk about helping children through their emotions, because it has been a very stressful, strange year for adults, letting alone children. And so we want to give our counselors the best tools they can to help. And last year we had a policy that to praise them when they're good, and everyone had lots of second chances, and we only had one time where we had to talk to a set of parents about some things, but it was also, we learned also that both children were having some emotional trauma at home. So, and they had to wear masks and they hadn't been in school. And one parent demanded the other child shouldn't come back to camp. And we said, no, that's not what our policy said, that we were going to be very loving and accepting and forgiving at camp. And it worked out. By the end of camp, the 2 kids were friends. So if we had listened to the parents, we wouldn't have had a chance to work through that process. So we're going to try and arm our counselors with a lot of compassion to be able to work through things with the kids.
So one thing we haven't talked about is accessibility. So if you have any campers with special needs, especially ones that may not be able to wear a mask, I know we talked about face shields in one of our, or maybe 5 of our roundtables. But was that successful if you had them wearing face shields? Did you make any other accommodations? Any thoughts on accessibility issues?
Have that situation, or we haven't had that situation in our community center, but I did actually have a question, because we've had at least 2 parents come to us with children that are nonverbal and have autism, and we just don't have the staffing capability to be able to have like almost that one-on-one. We ask questions about, like, how are they at school, or do they have an assistant or an aide with them? Will that be provided, and things like that. So what we've been doing is actually offering, giving them names of the other some of the other daycares in the area that we know get special state funding in order to do that. I was wondering if there's anybody else out there that's similar. Like, we do offer programs like special needs programs where we're inclusive of siblings, like Team CJ, where we have a child with autism with their sibling that's able to learn how to swim together as a group. And it's a wonderful program. And our community has really enjoyed that. It's been wonderful. But to take the next step and actually be able to do something like that for a 10-week or 11-week summer camp is overwhelming to me right now. And I'm from the special needs. I used to be a camp director at a special needs camp, and it was a different special need group came in every week. So that was a little bit easier to handle, but to have, 3 or 4 going into a group of 100 kids, is anybody else experiencing that? Or I feel terrible just giving them another resource. I feel like we should provide it, but we really just can't. Because we're a nonprofit.
Oh, sorry, to clarify, do they not have an aide at school, or do they have an aide at school, they just choose not to utilize them during the summer? I know
Yes.
I saw that a lot, so.
Most of them have aides at school, especially nonverbal. They have that one-on-one in their life skills classes, but in the summer, no. It's not provided by a school district, and as a nonprofit, we can't provide that. So it's a lie.
Right, we've had that as well. And in fact, it's been a problem that parents have not disclosed the level of special attention that their child might need. And then we found ourselves on our heels when we realized that the child really does have special needs. And last year we did talk to the parents and say, we cannot we'd love to have your child. We're not equipped to handle him. If you have the aide with him, we would love to have you back. And they did. They did get the aide to accompany the child. But it's surprising how many parents have signed up their children knowing that they have behavioral issues, diagnosed behavioral issues, and they don't tell us.
Now, and this is just my question of curiosity, when you tell them that you're not equipped to do that, do you have any pushback?
No,
Go ahead.
it's like they've been busted. It's almost, honestly, I feel like the parents have been busted. And then they did not have a qualm with the aide. They just tried to get their child in the program without having to do that.
Yeah, I've only had one experience where I had a parent that was really combative with that and said, you can't do this. I'm like, but I'm offering you something different, because that's the one thing I think that's how we kind of help to kind of figure out who's coming and their level and everything else is we have a mandatory parent meeting. We give at least 3 different dates that they can come. And this year we're asking that it could be in person or virtual. So we get to kind of learn a little bit more about the kids. We basically are doing the mandatory parent meeting so they know what to expect every day from us, as well as what we expect from their child every day, how they're going to have a great time. We have activities scheduled, and these are what they are. This is how we do swim lessons, swim tests, or this is this and that. If they have any questions, they can do it that way. So they kind of get to know who's going to take care of their child, as well as we get to kind of understand a little bit more about the child a little bit, as well as the parent dynamics. So again, we've only had one where we had a bad situation. It ended up being okay. I ended up saying to the mom, I just want your child to be safe and thrive. That's my biggest thing with kids. I don't want them to be last every time because they have a special need. I want them to be in a place where they succeed and they feel amazing. But I need that support. However they're doing that at school is something that we need to work with here. She was good at the end. She took a kind of a little bit of a step back and came to me later and said, I appreciate it. She was just, mama bear, which I get.
I would say we've definitely been in that same boat, Heather. We've had parents come to us and they want their child who has special needs to come to our camp. But we make it very clear that we are a traditional style. We don't have the staffing to provide that one-on-one attention. which is very difficult, especially when that parent wants them to be included in the normal camp atmosphere. But we just come across as, you know, straight shot with them. We are inclusive in the sense that we can make it work. We want your children to come to our camp, but if they're not going to succeed and thrive, we want to make that clear to them, that there are other camps in the area. We have had, you know, children in the same situation who have done very well, but also some who have tried it out and the parent was like, you know what, this isn't working for us. And then they took them elsewhere. So it's a hard thing, but we do say, hey, we require an aide if they have one full time during the school year. But we've ran into the issues too, that funding was not there. And we say, how can we make this work? You know, try it the best you can. But we did have to have some days that we could not provide an aide. And we would just have to focus one of our staffs at full attention on that child. So it's a difficult, you know, you're getting pulled into two directions, but you want to do what's best for the kids and your leaders and all the other kids as well.
Thank you for sharing. All right, about 8 minutes left. What else do we want to cover?
And one more thing that just popped into my brain with training, is anyone going kind of above and beyond with inclusion this year, or bringing up racism to your staffing, training, or with your kids at camp, you know, farther in detail than you might have in the past?
So that's a good point to bring up about discussing that with our staff, because last year we had a little girl who started talking to one of our counselors who had already worked someplace else to deal with the topic of racism in different cultures. And we also had 2 children who had families from Turkey who had a different culture. And those 3 children got involved in this conversation about needing to feel respected at a primarily dominant white camp. And so that was a very, very intelligent conversation from a couple of 1st and 2nd graders. So I think that is a valid point that brought up that to talk to that so that our counselors are a little sensitive to the children coming in, and their parents are already making them quite aware of things going on in the world at a very young age. So thank you for reminding me of that.
All right, one last question I'm going to ask, since there wasn't a ton of really necessary questions, but still good discussion. Do you want another roundtable before camp start, or do we want to wait and do a summer wrap-up roundtable?
Personally, I think a summer wrap-up would be good to see how summer went with everyone. What issues may have come up and things like that, since we have so much transition and things. That's my feeling, at least.
I see a lot of head shaking.
Yes, a summer wrap-up would be good.
Wonderful. Well, we'll get that scheduled and information out to everyone. Thank you all for attending today. We will send the recording and some chat notes out to everyone. I wish you the best of luck with your summers. And if you need anything in the meantime, you can feel free to message anyone at PRPS. And thank you so much, and have a